How's it going, everyone? This is the George here, and today's episode of Common Sense and Pop Culture will be a double review of two movies that I saw this weekend: Obsession and Masters of the Universe. Only because I feel like there's not a whole lot of movie news this past week that I wanted to cover, and since I was seeing these movies instead of doing two separate reviews, I figured why not just get them all done on this stream. Now, usually I use reviewing streams to go into spoilers. I don't think I'm going to go into too big of spoilers for Masters of the Universe. More so, maybe Obsession now. So I might go into that. If you have any questions about anything about either movie, you can address them in the chat and I can answer them. So I'll just say be aware of spoilers, more so for Obsession. But Obsession's been out for a few weeks, so if you haven't seen it already, um, I wouldn't stay around for too long. Same thing with Masters of the Universe. Um, and we're gonna start with Obsession first, just because that movie's been out for a while. This stream's not gonna be that long as well, unless of course there's stuff you want to address in the comments. By the way, if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. I do this stream every Sunday. Might do some streams on Saturdays. Haven't decided yet. Also, a reminder that next week will be the last episode for a couple weeks, as I'll be going away. But in the meantime, let's get into Obsession. So, Obsession was directed by Curry Barker and stars Michael Johnston and Inde Navarrete. Sorry if I mispronounce her name. I'm not the best with names. And this is a horror movie about a guy named Bear who has feelings for his close friend, Nikki. And when he buys this wish toy, he makes a wish that she will love him more than anything else. The wish comes true, and she loves him, but it's more of an obsessed love, and the results of it are horrifying to see. So, Obsession, as I mentioned before, is a horror movie, and horror movies in the 2020s have been on a very good streak. I think last year was a very good year for horror. When you think about Sinners and Weapons, those are two of my favorite movies from last year. They're probably my top two favorite movies of last year. And also, this is a movie directed by a YouTuber. And YouTubers directing movies has been on a pretty good streak this past year. Backrooms, which also came out, I haven't seen that one yet, was directed by a YouTuber. Iron Lung from January was directed by a YouTuber. I reviewed this movie last October. Shelby Oaks from Chris Stuckman had also came out. I reviewed that movie. If you can see that review if you haven't already, but if you saw that review, you could tell that I wasn't a huge fan of it. And I respected what Stuckman was trying to do in that movie because it was his first movie being directed. I liked the beginning part of the movie, but I think the overall outcome, the overall product was disappointing. It wasn't that terrible of a movie, but it wasn't that good of a movie either. But I think this year has been a much better year for YouTubers directing movies, and I think Obsession is a huge, huge step from Shelby Oaks. Curry Barker does a very good job with this movie. The cinematography and direction looks very good. I like the color scoping of the movie as well. It's got this. It's hard to describe it, but the way it's color scope, particularly in the scenes where Nikki is going through her obsession very much, it's got this like half dark, half light tone that I very much like. This color tone, but the best thing about Obsession, though, is probably the performances, particularly from Inde Navarrete as Nikki. She gives such a great performance in this movie. She does so good with the facial expressions, with her tone when she is going through, whether she's acting upset, when she's being so happy, when she's head over heels in love with her friend Bear. But no, she does such a great job. And I know it's too early to even think about next year's award seasons because a few months ago, award season for 2025 movies finally wrapped up. but she definitely deserves some consideration for some awards. We got a comment right here. I enjoy Masters of the Universe yesterday. I really hope people give it a chance, especially how that one post-credit scene was. Plus, the people who were complaining about it didn't understand it. Yeah, I'm going to talk about Masters of the Universe too. I just want to get through Obsession real quick because Obsession came out first, and I saw Obsession before I saw Masters of the Universe. So we'll address more about Masters of the Universe soon. If you saw Obsessions, you can let me know in the comments, and you can ask me some questions about Obsession as well. But back to her performance, the character Nikki, how she's going through it, like her wicked facial expressions, they really put you on edge, and her actions, they're very unsettling, not just to the audience who is watching it, but to the characters around her. Minor spoiler, there's a scene where they're at a party, they're at a get together, and she does certain things, reacting to certain things. She's reacting to a game. Something happens in the game where Bear has to kiss the girl on his left, and it's their one friend. And Nikki, in retaliation, gets up. She pulls the girl's chair back, and she gets in front, so she's on the left. And then when it's her turn to pick, it's like this block. You got to read something off the block kind of game. She just goes into this whole bizarre speech that everyone's just looking at her. And then she's going crazy, attacking herself. And it's just how bizarre is happening in front of their group of friends. And it's not just the same two friends that are with them throughout the movie witnessing this bizarre behavior and reacting to it. It's other friends that this is the only time they ever appear in the movie. And they're just like, oh, wow, so this is more bizarre than rumored. Mike Johnson also does a great job as Bear. He's going through a lot as well because he's got this unrequited love. His cat, spoiler at the beginning of the movie, his cat unfortunately passes away. The cat accidentally eats something that's not supposed to. And so between losing his pet and dealing with the fact that his best friend doesn't feel the same way about him, something happens at the beginning of the movie where he says some dumb stuff and he just blows his chance. He makes the wish, and now he's dealing with it. And this is definitely a unique way of showing that wishes have consequences, and be careful what you wish for, because he makes this wish, and even right away, he has no idea what's going on, and he is stunned by it because she wants to go with him, and he's like, oh, are you sure? Are you sure? Like, he's troubled by it, doesn't buy into it. She wants to, share the same bed as him, all this bizarre stuff. And when he finally processes it and it's like he's into it, that she finally has feelings for him, it seems all happy and dandy until he learns from one of their friends that she lied. She says a lie that the reason why she wants to stay with him, even before she admits that she likes him, is she says that her father has cancer and it's been tough on her, which, that'd be understandable if you tell a friend that hey, like, I have a family member that's sick, going through a tough time. But then he learns that it's a lie, and then it's also revealed to the audience that Nikki's not even that close to her father. They have a very iffy relationship. And also the hospital that she says he's supposedly at, he never even checked into. And that's where the turn of just how creepy and unsettling things are going to get happens. In the third act, a lot of that happens when the brutal, gory horror stuff happens and how it affects other people that are now involved in this situation. By the way, sorry, I have a cold, so I'm sorry if I sound stuffy and all that. But the way that Carrie Barker pulls this off, it's unpredictable. There are scenes that are unpredictable. It's unpredictable when she comes out of nowhere and is listening to Bear talking to someone else. It's unpredictable when she goes on these rants or these speeches that seem very unhinged. It's unpredictable when you learn, like, oh, how the wish gets undone and all that. So he does such a great job of doing that. He does such a good job of capturing suspense and having that mystery element as to, can this be solved? Uh, how deep does this obsession grow? One of the things I like in horror movies is one of the things that gravitated me towards weapons last year is the mystery aspect of horror. Like the horror aspect is going to be strong. But for me, I also like a good mystery in my horror. And if you have a really good, solid mystery, you're going to deliver. And while I don't think the mystery aspect was as strong in this as weapons, it's definitely a lot stronger than Shelby Oaks' mystery aspect. And overall, I think it just works out so well. And what's crazy about Obsession is the movie that is beating out Star Wars, Mandalorian, Grogu at the box office. It's having this reverse effect where it's either doing better the next week at the box office or its box office numbers are going down, but not a whole lot. It's become a huge hit with people between the ages of 13 and 34, which is my age range. I'm 29 years old. The word of mouth has been very strong. And it seems like this is a trend in which people, if want new, fresh ideas, but they also want new, fresh ideas that are very good. Because everyone says, oh, we need new movies, but then new movies don't do well. New movies can do well if there's a strong word of mouth. Like we talked about the horror movies last year. Take Sinners and Weapons last year. Strong word of mouth. They did very well at the box office. F1, strong word of mouth. Did a very good job at the box office. Project Hail Mary, even though it's based off a book, but even still, that's not exactly a household IP compared to other IPs that are out there. Project Hail Mary had a strong word of mouth. It did very well at the box office. And so that strong word of mouth, and again, with this, I don't know if I would call it a renaissance of horror, but this revival of horror has really helped movies like Obsession and Backrooms do very well, particularly with that age group, the 18 to 34 age group. And also the fact that a YouTuber directing his first movie. This isn't a slight against YouTubers. There's some good YouTubers that can direct, but the fact that a YouTuber making his first movie, and it's so far considered one of the best movies of the year, in the same year in which Phil Lord and Chris Miller already have Project Hail Mary come out. This next weekend we got Disclosure Day with Steven Spielberg directing. We're gonna have Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey come out in July. Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 2 come out. We got all these household, well-known, great acclaimed directors having movies come out. And we only seen Project Hail Mary so far. We don't know how good The Odyssey is going to be. We don't know. Hey, Blinded. We don't know how good Disclosure Day is going to be in Dune Part 3. But the fact that Obsession is being this well received in a year where you got all these other directors having movies come out, I think that's a pretty good accomplishment for the movie. Is it just me, or has the Disclosure Day trailers and promos not hitting as epic as they should? I mean, here's the thing. I feel like Disclosure Day is probably going to be similar to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where it's not going to be as epic as you think. Like, I'm one of those people that I like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, but I wasn't also impressed when I saw it. It's not one of my favorite Steven Spielberg movies. I think it's a little overrated, honestly. That might be a hot take. So I'm excited for Disclosure Day because I like Steven Spielberg. I like Steven Spielberg doing science fiction, but I'm not gonna. I don't have high hopes that it's gonna be an amazing movie. I have high hopes it's gonna be at least a good movie. Blinded. I know you saw Obsession. I don't know if you have any questions about what I think about it, or if you have any thoughts you want to add in the chat about Obsession. I think maybe they might be purposely doing that with the ads. Because I also noticed the ads are getting a bit bold with it, where they're showing like briefly the aliens that are going to be in the movie. So I think they might be purposely doing something with the ads. The thing is, marketing, and I do want to touch upon this actually before I get into the next movie. Uh, the Coyote versus Acme movie that's coming out in August, the Looney Tune movie where Wile E. Coyote is going to go up against Acme. A new teaser trailer came out where Bugs Bunny's narrating. He's kind of playing this. If you ever saw All the President's Men, or you're you're aware or know about the Nixon Watergate scandal from the 1970s, or at least saw All the President's Men, as I mentioned before, Deep Throat, the person that leaked out information to those Washington Post journalists. Bugs Bunny's kind of playing something similar to that, and they do that kind of Avengers Doomsday thing where it's like Bugs Bunny will return. That's really smart marketing on their part, in a nice way to kind of confirm that, oh, Bugs Bunny's going to be in this upcoming movie. So marketing, the marketing of Disclosure Day, I'm kind of intrigued by. Now again, I'm not expecting this to be the greatest Steven Spielberg movie, but the thing is, Steven Spielberg has so many great movies that at this point, regardless if he pulls out another great movie or not, he is already solidified as one of the all-time great directors, because this guy gave us Jaws, Indiana Jones, like the first three Indiana Jones movies, you can say, if you don't want to include the fourth one. Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, Minority Report. So many fantastic movies that this man has made. And even like some of his movies that aren't household names, like Catch Me If You Can. I love Catch Me If You Can. It's one of my favorite Spielberg movies. Not a whole lot of people are aware of that movie. It's the movie where Leonardo DiCaprio is forging everything and forging checks and all that, and Tom Hanks' character is trying to track him down. It's based off a true story. Go check it out if you haven't seen it yet. Catch Me If You Can is a phenomenal movie. But Spielberg, he's just made so many great movies, and that's why, like, I know some people were disappointed with his Ready Player One from 2018. I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was amazing, but I enjoyed it. But it's like, even then, I'm like, okay, but Spielberg's made so many great movies. I'm not going to be annoyed if one of his movies disappoints. That's why with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which I don't hate, but I'm disappointed by, I'm not like overly mad about it, because Spielberg already did give us three great Indiana Jones movies. I'm one of those people that likes Temple of Doom a lot. So I'm not going to hold it against him. So I feel like Disclosure Day could either be him going back to his science fiction roots, and it could be another excellent movie, or it can just be, just another good, okay Spielberg movie that isn't going to hurt his legacy. But yeah, back to Obsession before I continue on. Overall, with Obsession, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good horror movie, great horror movie. It's probably my second favorite movie of the year so far, behind Project Hail Mary. Could that change? It could change, because there's a lot of movies that I'm anticipating that could go up on this list. There's also a possibility that might not change, because movies can disappoint. It's very possible that Avengers Doomsday, which is one of my most anticipated movies, could disappoint, or The Odyssey could disappoint. Toy Story 5 could disappoint. We just talked about Disclosure Day. That could disappoint. Even Dune Part 3 can disappoint. But I think this is a positive sign that new horror movies, new IPs are doing well, doing better than okay mid-tier franchise movies like Star Wars, Mandalorian, Grogu, that audiences want that new thing as long as it's very good. And that, YouTubers are making very good movies. And I'm hoping Parker has a great directing career. He's actually a few years younger than me, and I think that's terrific to see people younger than me making great movies. In Indy Navarrete, again, sorry if I mispronounced that name. I hope she gets some consideration for some awards. She gave a great performance. Overall, great suspense, great psychological horror. I think it worked out very well, and I'm going to give the movie an A. I'm going to give it an A, and I do recommend you check it out before it leaves theaters. It's been out for a few weeks. I made sure I saw it before it leaves theaters because this weekend we had Scary Movie, Masters of the Universe. Next weekend, Disclosure Day. The following weekend, Toy Story 5 comes out. So as these movies come out, movies are going to get taken out of theaters. So if you have seen Obsession, you can let me know in the chat what you thought about it, or in the comments after the stream is over what you thought about it. Um, do I think this movie's as good as Weapons and Sinners? Sinners is a lot better. I would probably put this on equal footing as Weapons for myself personally. Two different kind of horror movies, two different kind of mysteries, but a good sign for horror overall that these movies are doing well. So with that out of the way, we're going to move on to Masters of the Universe. That's right. I saw Masters of the Universe yesterday. I had a great time with this movie, and it was directed by Travis Knight. Now, for those who don't know, Travis Knight directed Kubo and the Two Strings, a fantastic animated stop motion movie that came out almost a decade ago. I highly recommend you check that movie out. Unfortunately, that movie did not do well in the box office. But Travis Knight also directed Bumblebee, which is one of the better live action Transformer movies. I did a review on Bumblebee a few years ago. You can go in my channel and look for that review if you want to hear my thoughts on Bumblebee. But I enjoy Bumblebee a lot. It's kind of like a modern day Iron Giant, but with, Transformers. But overall, it had like that fresh, unique taste that Transformers needed, that has some 80s references, that doesn't overdo it. You would want to see more Transformers action, sure, but it's based around Bumblebee, so my expectations were reasonable with that movie. But here at Masters of the Universe, we are introduced to this version of Adam, Eternia Skeletor. When Skeletor attacks, Adam has to flee with the Sword of Power, but he gets separated from the Sword of Power for many years, but his friend Teela finds him, and they go back to Eternia to stop Skeletor once and for all. Now, this stars, I'm going to mispronounce this guy's name. I know I'm going to, because I am bad with names. It's the actor that plays He-Man. So forgive me if I get his name wrong. This movie stars Nicholas Galzenstein, sorry if I mispronounced that, Camila Mendes, Jared Leto, Alison Brie, and Idris Elba. And when it comes to He-Man for me, I grew up more so on the 2000s He-Man cartoon. I think I might have watched a little bit of the 80s cartoon, but don't have a whole lot of memories with it. It's more so the 2000s cartoon. I did even watch, the Kevin Smith cartoon on Netflix. And I know a lot of people, I remember around that time was around the time I first started on YouTube. People were complaining about it, the obvious suspects. But I had no problem with it. I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was the greatest He-Man thing ever, but I enjoyed it for what it was. But He-Man's been around for a while. There was the Guilty Pleasure He-Man movie that came out almost 40 years ago that starred Dolph Lundgren as He-Man in 1987. Mattel created this property back in 1982, so it's been around for 44 years. And when making a movie based off this, I'm not expecting too much from it, because kind of like Transformers, these are movies based off of toys. Or movies based off of cartoons, however you want to see it. The toys came out first, and then the cartoons came out. So I'm not going to, take it way too seriously. I just want to have a good time with this movie. And sure enough, I had a great time with Masters of the Universe. It's corny and cheesy in all the right ways. And I'm actually glad they embraced that. I mean, this is a movie that's a combination of action, science fiction, sword and sorcery action into one movie. And it's like, what do you expect from this movie? I'm not expecting Lord of the Rings serious epic happening. Now, I know people might compare this movie to certain MCU movies like Thor Ragnarok and Guardians of the Galaxy because it's colorful, it's all in good fun. The dramatic moments can be up and down, like Thor Ragnarok. My only gripe with Thor Ragnarok is, while I think they did well with the comedy stuff, I think the dramatic emotional moments were hit or miss. But I feel like He-Man's always been like that, where it's always been this cheesy, colorful fun, where emotional moments may not always land, but sometimes they do land. But the comedy enjoyment factor lands, and that's what Masters of the Universe did. Now, the movie after the beginning movie where we see young Adam and how Skeletor takes over Eternia, the invasion of Castle Grayskull. During that time, no, not during that time. After that, and before Adam comes back to Eternia, the movie really slows down because we see what Adam's doing in his real life, and it's just boring. It's uninteresting. But once he reunites with Teela, not really a spoiler because we've seen this in the trailers, but minor spoiler, and he comes back to Eternia, the movie picks up, and thank goodness, because once we get to Eternia, that's where the fun begins. That's where the fun kicks off. And Eternia looks amazing. The locations look amazing. Like Castle Grayskull looks great. The characters look great. Skeletor looks amazing. Like Skeletor has the best design in my opinion. And by the way, I'm not a big fan of Jared Leto, but I think Jared Leto did an excellent job as Skeletor. He showed how ruthless he can be. He can also show how a bit corny he can be as well with some of the lines that he says and finding those lines funny. But I thought he was excellent as Skeletor. Idris Elba as Duncan / Man at Arms was probably my second favorite performance as well. I love Idris Elba. He nails every performance. And he does a great job portraying how broken this man is after his failure 15 years ago and how he is now. And also like a bit of a strained relationship with his daughter Teela. And Camila Mendes did a very good job as Teela as well. I thought she did a great job. I know a lot of people know her mostly from Riverdale, the CW cringe era. But no, she did a very good job as Teela in this movie as well. Because I struggled to pronounce his last name, I'll just call him Nicholas. Nicholas, who portrays Adam. I'll be honest, when he first started portraying Adam, and this is basically during the Earth, regular, normal, everyday life sequences, I wasn't sold on his performance. He felt a bit too dumb and naive at first, and I was like, this is our He-Man, this is gonna be our savior. But as the movie progressed, and like he was showing those traits that we know and love from Adam, that compassion, that willingness to try to compromise before getting into the action, that care factor, I was like, by the end of the movie, I was like, yeah, he is He-Man. He did a very good job as He-Man. His costume looked really good as well, particularly his transformation sequence when he transforms and has the power. He does such a great job. The action sequences, I will say, did an excellent job as well. I thought they were entertaining. There's some that are so ridiculous. I'm like, how did that even work? But they managed to pull off. That's what Masters of the Universe does such a great job at as well. It does all this ridiculous stuff, whether it's the action sequences, whether it's the stunt work, the humor, the plans to break free when you're trapped in a dungeon or trying to escape. Like all this bizarre stuff is happening, even in the third act especially, but they pull it off so well. And it wouldn't be He-Man if they didn't do that. That's just how I feel. It feels like, though, that certain things happen, like certain characters, they're like in and out, that you felt like maybe, they could have done maybe more with that character, or they didn't do enough. Like, they did very well with Adam, Teela, Duncan. Overall, there's this robot character that appears in the movie, a Roboto, that I was like, I did not know how I was going to feel about this character at the start of the movie. I thought she was going to be the annoying character of the movie, but she wasn't. In fact, she has a couple scene stealers towards the end of the movie. But certain characters that I felt like should have got more time, like Cringer. Like Cringer appears at the beginning of the movie, but young Cringer, like around the same time we have young Adam, I don't think it ever mentions what happens to Cringer, and then Cringer all of a sudden appears 15 years later, towards the end of the second act, beginning of the third act, when all the characters kind of like reunite and stuff. Minor spoiler alert. And you would think he's going to do a lot more in the third act because kind of hyping him up a little bit, but doesn't really do a whole lot. If they make a sequel, I hope they do more with him. The Skeletor stuff, I already said his design is great. His action sequences were awesome as well. The whole outlook of Eternia, as I mentioned before, looks great. Not just Castle Grayskull, which I will say, if a theme park ever does, it could be Universal, most likely Universal probably. If they ever do a He-Man world, I would love to see a Castle Grayskull attraction. I don't know, like Castle Grayskull just looks so cool. I've always thought it looked cool. But from Castle Grayskull to Snake Mountain, inside Snake Mountain, all of it just looks incredible. I don't think it needed to be 2 hours and 13 minutes. I think you could have cut it down. Maybe you could have shaved a good chunk of that stuff on Earth, those Earth sequences. I think that could have done without that. As I said before, Adam's character at first wasn't quite buying into him, and they didn't really do a whole lot with his character. But also as I mentioned before, the emotional moments can be hit or miss. There's some good emotional moments. I don't want to get too into spoilers. There are some not bad emotional moments, but emotional moments that's like, I get they're trying to hit the landing, but they just aren't. So I don't know what's gonna happen there. But I think overall with Masters of the Universe, it's definitely a fun time. I think it did its job well. I think fans are going to enjoy it. I see some people in a certain community kind of nitpicking at it, but I don't know. They either just like to nitpick or whatever. But honestly, I think this was the way you do a He-Man movie today. You've got so many technological advances. You've got so many. You moved up in action. Sorry, I'm getting my words jumbled up. Like you should be doing the stuff that you're doing in here, and I think it works very well. And overall, I'm going to give He-Man: The Masters of the Universe a B. I think it's an entertaining movie if you're a Masters of the Universe fan, or you just like good action. I recommend you check it out. I do want to say there is one joke in the movie that I thought was going to get old, and it's one of those jokes that adults are going to get. Kids might not fully understand, just based on how it's worded. And the theater laughed every time it happened, and I laughed, and it was repeated a few times, but it never got old. And I think when a movie is able to repeat a joke a few times and it never gets old or stale, you're doing the joke pretty well. Because there's some movies, whether it's movies like Masters of the Universe or Marvel movies or DC movies that have humor, if you're repeating a joke several times, it could get stale. Masters of the Universe avoids that problem, so I know. And I hope people do give it a chance. I'm going to go back to this comment. I honestly think this movie should have gotten released next weekend for Father's Day because there's going to be a lot of fathers who grew up on Masters of the Universe who will probably take their kids to go see it. I think Masters of the Universe might actually do better its second weekend compared to its first weekend. I think, although I don't know if Scary Movie was that much of competition. I heard it did well at the box office, but it's also not getting the best of mouth. But I haven't seen Scary Movie yet. I know the Scary Movie franchise usually does not do that well with critics overall. I could look at the box office and see. Take a look. If you saw Masters of the Universe and you're watching the stream, you can let me know your thoughts on it or ask me any questions, and I'll give the spoiler warning if you want to ask me a particular question about it. Let's see. And I think I'm going to put down the camera for now. No. Wait, I don't want to do that. Sorry. Oh, man. Sometimes I forget how StreamYard works. Oh, here we go. I'm going to find that article of the box office. But yeah, as you can tell, I think Obsession, based on my grade, was the better movie than Masters of the Universe. Unfortunately, it sounds like He-Man is underperforming at the box office, which is a shame. I'm going to put up the article because I think it was a fun movie. Let's see. So, box office. Scary Movie scores franchise best $55 million opening. Masters of the Universe stumbles with $29.3 million. I mean, I expected Scary Movie to do well regardless of the critical reception, because between the high of what horror movies are going through, and it be horror movies being popular, Gen Z crowd, the Wayman brothers came back for this one. And for those of you who don't know the story, what happened was, I think after Scary Movie 2, Harvey Weinstein, the monster, pushed out the Wayman brothers to have full control of the Scary Movies, which is probably why Scary Movies 3, 4, and 5 are horrible. Like, Scary Movie and Scary Movie 2 aren't great, but at least they're a dumb kind of funny that I can at least rewatch and enjoy. I mean, I remember I watched these movies with my best friend back in high school. So, yeah, it's Backrooms Obsessions are also doing very well. Oh yeah, Scary Movie's like 25 years old. Oh, I thought it was 26 years old. Oh yeah, I forgot. Anna Faris and Regina Hall were not in the 2013 movie. I mean, 2013 movie is so bad, it's forgettable. Amazon's MGM Sword and Plan Adventures Masters Universe debuted at number 2 with a soft 29.3 million. Yo, the budget of this movie is kind of crazy, and I get it. I mean, look, I was talking all about how Eternia looks and how the characters look, particularly Skeletor, the visuals. But $200 million budget, that's crazy, or nearly $200 million. Oh yeah, you're not including the marketing budget. I'm hoping maybe a good word of mouth will help it for Father's Day weekend. Hopefully, it'll do good Father's Day weekend. Hopefully, dads that are in their 30s and 40s, maybe early 50s, that grew up watching or playing He-Man, or even if like you're in your late 20s and you have a kid that you think can handle He-Man, Masters of the Universe. If you grew up on Masters of the Universe, I would hope you would want to take your kid to go see it, or your son. This is a soft opening for an action adventure with franchise and series potential. And that's another thing. If it doesn't do well, there's a good chance we might not get a sequel. And I would like, for Masters of the Universe, I would like to see this series continue, because there were post-credit scenes. And I think the setup and possibilities could be very good. And look, they could possibly be bad as well. I mean, there's sometimes you could get a sequel that could be like Transformers Revenge of the Fallen and just be messy and disappointing. But I think overall, I think there's potential with this being a franchise. Right now, they did add the only fantasy heroes doing strong business heroes like Spider-Man, Deadpool, Wolverine, and Superman. Batman also does pretty good at the box office. I don't know why they didn't include Batman in that. So yeah, the inaugural crowds were mostly comprised of fans of the '80s toys and cartoon. So Masters of the Universe will need to cater to broader audiences in the coming weeks in order to become profitable in its theatrical run. Meanwhile, Kevin Wilson, Amazon's MGM domestic distribution chief, put out a sentiment saying Travis Knight and entire casting and filming crew have delivered something truly special. This opening exactly the kind of critical first moment that validates our holistic distribution strategy, building awareness and engagement that will carry well beyond the theatrical window. I mean, look, this movie's probably going to go on streaming, I mean, it'll probably do well on Amazon when it goes on streaming, but obviously you want to do well at the box office. So Backrooms got third place. I haven't seen Backrooms yet. I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to, because next weekend I want to see Disclosure Day. I may or may not be able to squish in Scary Movie, because I do want to see what Scary Movie's like. And then I'm going away. That's why after next Sunday, the next couple Sundays, I'm not going to be doing any streams. And by the time I come back, I'm going to want to see, well, I might be able to see Toy Story 5 on my cruise ship because it's a Disney cruise. And usually Disney cruises show new movies, but I'll probably have my review of Toy Story 5 posted. And the first movie I'm going to want to see when I get back, because it's the weekend that the movie comes out, is Supergirl. The Netflix series, Sal, I think is very underrated. I think the Netflix series. Okay, here's my thing with the Netflix series. So there's a crowd of fans. I don't know how much you're aware of this. Others that are in the community are aware of this. There's a group of fans that they get annoyed when girl power is shown, or that's how they like to call it, or like when powerful female characters are established. And what had happened was the Netflix show, the Kevin Smith's Masters of the Universe, was going in that direction, and it annoyed a ton of people. A lot of people were furious with what had happened because Teela had become the main character. And people had flipped out about it, which is crazy because I had no problem with it. First of all, it wasn't like, because they like to insert SJW, complain about SJW politics or whatever, or say everything's woke. I didn't find it to be woke or pandering to people. I thought it was, a good continuation of, a pretty good show. Because basically what it was a sequel to the 1980s cartoon, which again, I don't have too many memories of. I'm more familiar with the 2000s cartoon. I do want to go and find the 1980s cartoon and rewatch it and, see how I feel about that. But yeah, people were flipping out about it. I remember one YouTuber, I think he ripped up like a signed like Jay and Silent Bob poster, like had Kevin Smith's signature on, and he like ripped it up and was like, "F you, Kevin Smith." And I'm just like, and this is kind of what I meant when I talked about a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, there's a group of people on YouTube that I used to watch them back in like 2018, 2019, but they kind of tuned me out when they were kind of complaining about the same thing. They complained that Star Wars got too political, which is crazy because I thought Star Wars has always been political. They complained about it was Masters of the Universe Revelation and Revolution. They were complaining about. That's what they were complaining about. That was the thing Kevin Smith had made. And oh shit, I lost my train of thought. Oh boy, what was I gonna say? But yeah, they it had that same effect that I was talking about a couple of weeks ago, when I think people were flipping out because Christopher Nolan casted Lupita Nyong'o as Helen of Troy, or there were certain things with the accents of actors not being accurate, or even the British actors not even using their British accents like other British actors have done for Swords and Sandals movies in the past. And everyone was saying, screw Christopher Nolan, he's dead to me, like that kind of thing. And it's like, look, even if someone makes a product you don't like, does that really ruin everything else? Like, if I didn't like Kevin Smith's Masters of the Universe, and look, Kevin Smith, I'm a fan of Kevin Smith's Viewers Universe movies. I love Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Clerks 2. I'm okay with Jay and Silent Bob reboot. I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. I do find some enjoyment in it. I like Clerks 3. I understand the issues people have with Clerks 3, but I enjoy Clerks 3 very much. But, there's also other Kevin Smith movies that I just didn't care about. Like, I'm not too big on Jersey Girl. I'm not big on his movies in after Clerks 2, Tusks, Cop Out. There's some movies that Kevin Smith made that I just don't care about. And even if, let's say, I didn't care about his Masters of the Universe cartoon, which I did like, but if I didn't like it, it wasn't going to ruin how I felt about Clerks and his other movies. It's either fake outrage or maybe just realizing that there's other stuff in these franchises you can watch. I mean, here's the thing, and I would have said this if I didn't like Masters of the Universe 2026. I have the Masters of the Universe 2000s cartoon. I can also always go back and watch what I didn't see with the 1980s cartoon. Go back and rewatch that. It's kind of like how I feel with the Ninja Turtle movies. I didn't like the Ninja Turtle movies produced by Michael Bay, but I still have the first two 1990s Ninja Turtle movies. I don't like the third one, but I love the first one. I like the second one, where they have that song "Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go." I have the 1980s cartoon that I've seen many times, the 2003 cartoon, which I grew up on, the 2012 cartoon, which I think is great. There's a lot of Ninja Turtle stuff out there that I like, so it doesn't ruin it. It's like, and I said this even when Star Wars isn't delivering. I still have the first 6 movies. I have Rogue One. I have Clone Wars. I have Rebels because I like Rebels. I have the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian. I have so much Star Wars stuff that I enjoy that it's like if Star Wars makes a bad thing, it doesn't ruin it for me. But yeah, there was just this like outrage of towards Kevin Smith's show, which to me was kind of dumb. But again, it's the same group that got outraged because Captain Marvel's first trailer back in 2018 had the word she in it. They got offended because Brie Larson may have said some stuff before. Now they love Brie Larson because she voices Rosalina in the Super Mario Galaxy movie. They get outraged over just the stuff that regular people just don't get outraged about. If I'm going to be completely honest, like I've got so many issues with Last Jedi. Identity politics is not one of them. I got so many issues with Captain Marvel. Identity politics is not one of them. I got issues with Ghostbusters 2016. I think Ghostbusters 2016 is where this whole thing kind of began. So it's really kind of been going on for like a decade. But I think it became more common and more rabbit holes were created after Last Jedi because that's how I discovered those videos. I discovered them when I was going through the Last Jedi rabbit hole. Yeah, it's crazy how that happens. So back to this. I think I went off. So now Backrooms, by the way, is A24's highest grossing worldwide release. It beat Mario Supremes, 212.6 million globally. That's pretty good. So Obsession got 4th place, and it's got a mere 7% decline. And it will pass 200 million globally this weekend. That's pretty good. For I guess the Amazing Digital Circus fans, I've never got into this show. It rounded out the top five, earning 19.4 million, and Mandalorian and Grogu took sixth place, and it's only made 293.6 million. A little disappointing, probably for Star Wars fans. Apparently, the journey to getting a Masters of the Universe movie has been kind of difficult, going back to 2007 when the property cycled through several studios: Netflix, Warner Brothers, and Sony. People like John Manchu, who did Wicked, and Noah Centineo were attached to direct. Or no, I think Noah Centineo was a star, an actor, right? I read that wrong. Yeah, no, he's an actor. I read that wrong. My gaff. But Amazon, MGM got the rights in 2024. It'll be disappointing if this movie doesn't do well, because I thought it was very good. I enjoyed it. I think there's a lot of potential for this to be a good franchise. It's a split. The Phantom Menace are clearly MAGA, and that's proven out in 2026. But many people have valid arguments get lumped in with all the grifters. Well, here's the thing. That's how I kind of got lumped in, because I had valid criticisms. And, when I first started watching these channels, I was like, oh, wow, they got some pretty good criticisms right there. But then when they start going on all these tangents and stuff, and it's just... And look, I don't have a problem with if you vote a certain way or whatever, but it's like when I watch movie reviews, I want to watch movie reviews. I don't want to hear about people's politics, even regardless of whether or not I agree with the politics or not. It's like, how there's the saying where like actors should stay in their lane. YouTube movie reviewers should probably stay in their lane. That's probably my opinion. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that. I don't post anything on any of my socials. Well, look, if Phantom Menace, like, if they want to do that, they have the right to do that. But I don't think, like, that should dictate how you feel about a movie or not. And look, whether you support it or not, that's their right. That is their right. They have the right to do that. But I don't want it in my movie talk. And that goes for all political sides. I don't want... That's just my personal opinion. Let's see. I still got some extra time. Is there anything else to talk about at the box office? It's good to see that the horror movies are doing well. Let's see, anything else? Yeah, I can show, I guess, like the Lex Luthor in the suit picture. Nicholas Hoult in the war suit. That war suit looks really good. I can't wait to see this in action. His facial expression's crazy, though. Oh, boy. I'm looking forward to Man of Tomorrow next year. Honestly, the Batman Part 2 is my most anticipated movie, but Man of Tomorrow is probably my second most anticipated movie. Those are like my two anticipated movies. CJH, have you seen Obsession or Masters of the Universe? If so, you can let me know your thoughts in the chat. I'm not going to have anyone on today because this was going to be a short stream. But if you want to share your thoughts in the chat, you can as well. Oh, yeah, I don't think this was mentioned in the thing, but Obsession, which we talked about earlier, had a budget of $750K, and it's on track to become one of the most profitable films ever. Yeah, because it's a fresh horror movie that people like. I like when movies like that do well. I really do. Let's see, anything else? Trying to see if there's anything else that's trending before. I know Supergirl, I think, had its premiere recently. I was gonna ask, what's your? Yeah, I didn't see it. The thing is, I've never watched Amazing Digital Circus. Like, I see people on Twitter talking about it, but I never got into it. Um, I mean, well, I have the time now because I was actually going to talk about this on a stream a few weeks ago, but that was also a stream that I invited my friends on, and I didn't get a chance to talk about it. So I'll talk about it right now. I don't know, Sal, if you want to hear my thoughts on regular show The Lost Tapes, or I've seen it, but I know regular show had came back a couple weeks ago. Regular show The Lost Tapes. So for those of you who don't know, regular show is a well received Cartoon Network show. It ended in 2017. It was basically part of this new Cartoon Network revival of the 2010s, along with Adventure Time and The Amazing World of Gumball. And it was one of those cartoons that wasn't afraid to go to that PG-13 border. Regular show, particularly its first few seasons, had a lot of adult jokes, a lot of sus jokes. They're like the first episode right away. Mordecai and Rigby calling each other holes, which is clearly like the PG way of saying a-hole. When Mordecai and Rigby are doing their dance, saying "Go away, Skips! It's time for you to go away." And they take the one arm out of the sleeve, and they're moving around, and the arm is looking like a chest. Like there's so many adult jokes you can make with that scene. The coffee scene, the giant coffee being the way he was squaring out coffee. The unicorn episode. You know, they said the word like "holy crap" so many times on the show. Mordecai one time was like, "You pissed me off." Muscle Man himself is basically like a PG, on the border of PG-13 character. Regular show was not afraid to hold back, and it's one of those cartoons that I think has aged very well. I mean, it's got such a bizarre plot of this blue jay and this raccoon working at a park where the manager is a talking gumball machine, and the employees are a guy named Pops with a giant head that's Jolly, Muscle Man who looks like a monster / zombie like green guy, High Five Ghost, which is just a ghost with like a high five hand on top of his head. You got Skips, the immortal Yeti, and like bizarre stuff is always happening in these episodes. Like the last season, they were in space the whole season. You know, the Halloween specials were really cool. And then like they brought it back less than a decade after it ended. Yo, the series finale was sad. What you're saying, first of all, I hate when a good show ends, and regular show was a good show. Like regular show was basically the show of my teenage years and early adulthood. Because it first premiered when I was 13, about to turn 14. It ended when I was 20. I was in my second year of college. And I mean, I get you want to end the show before it gets bad. Oh, nice, Aaron. Yeah, I just haven't gotten tickets yet for it because I don't know when I'm gonna see. Like, I'm gonna see it after I get back from my vacation, but I'm gonna wait because in case something happens with a flight delay, I'm supposed to fly back like the 27th, which is a Saturday. So I'm hoping maybe the 28th, which is a Sunday, I can go see it. I did that last year with Fantastic Four, the first steps, when I came back on a Saturday and I saw Fantastic Four on a Sunday. So hopefully I can do the same thing with Supergirl. But back to regular show. But like the regular show finale was very sad because spoiler if you haven't seen it, it's been out for almost a decade. Pops sacrifices himself, and Pops is one of the most lovable, sweet characters of all time. Um, we Can Be Heroes was playing at the end, and it's like it's the end of an era, the end of an era for a lot of people because you watch it as a kid and it ends when you're either a teenager or a young adult. And regular show really was one of those things that helped get me through high school in the first couple of years of college. The funny thing is when regular show first came out, it was around that time where I was starting to move away from cartoons. I think what helped was the fact that both Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon just weren't coming out with good stuff at the time. Like some of the shows weren't good anymore; they ended, and new shows that weren't good were ending. Like Cartoon Network in like the late 2000s, when shows like Friends, Billy and Mandy, and Kids Next Door were coming to an end, and then they were doing that live action stuff that was just forgetful and just like even if this was on Disney or Nickelodeon, no one would want to watch it. That was happening, but then a friend of mine told me about Regular Show and Adventure Time and recommended these shows to me. He thought I would like them because the kind of style of shows and entertainment that I liked. So I was like, yeah, I'll go check it out. And I watched them and I enjoyed them. Great cartoons. So my hot take is I prefer Regular Show over Adventure Time. And look, I get why people prefer Adventure Time over Regular Show, and I won't blame them. But I feel like Regular Show is kind of my style, and I go back and watch Regular Show more than Adventure Time, even though I will go back and watch Adventure Time. But Regular Show, I will more so go back and rewatch because I feel like it's a more relatable cartoon until, of course, the bizarre crap happens. So Regular Show, The Lost Tapes comes out, and the first episode's about Pops in heaven, and the tapes are gone, and he has to get new tapes, and these new tapes are basically lost tapes. And there's some very interesting scenarios. Like the first one is like a luau, and of course, in typical fashion, Benson tells Mordecai and Rigby if they screw up, they can't get their burgers. We learn how Benson became manager of the park. There's an episode that's kind of like it's like a parody of Stand By Me. The movie Stand By Me, where the kids go and look for the dead body, and Eileen and Eileen and Rigby, we want to go look for something. Oh my god, I forgot what it was already. And I've been rewatching these episodes too. Oh yeah, a corpse flower. She wants to see it bloom, and but Margaret's got this poetry recital. She's very uptight about it. So there's that episode. There was an episode with Stilts, and there was this Uncle Sam type guy with Rigby. It was classic Rigbyisms because Rigby wanted to get a picture of him as chopsticks with his stilts, which was kind of stupid of Rigby. Oh my god! There was a coffee shop wars episode with Margaret and Eileen. Muscle Man's secret nap spot. How Muscle Man was pursuing volleyball after he broke up with his girlfriend the first time. I like the episodes. I think the animation's a little different. Like the style's mostly the same, but it's a little different. Now it's not a complete big difference from Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go, where it's a huge drop in quality. I mean, because I don't even think it's a drop in quality with regular show. I think maybe what it is, it's like the way they do the animation and draw it is a little bit different, but the design is mostly the same. Another bad drop off was original Powerpuff Girls from Powerpuff Girls 2016. That was horrendous. 2005 Ben 10 to late 2010s Ben 10, which that's crazy. Like the drop in animation quality for some of these shows really will bug anyone. A regular show doesn't have that. Um, I will say like not every episode is great. Like I would say personally, my favorite episodes of the new show. I like the Skip Slew Out episode. I like the Fix the Tape episode with Pops in Heaven trying to fix the tape. I like how Benson became park manager. I really like that. Stilt Walkers, which seems like the most popular episode so far. I thought that was dumb, but in a hilarious way. I feel we probably these are pricey. I have to pick and choose. I'm waiting for Spidey. I might even skip Toy Story mess. Go see them. Well, I mean, my advice, like, I recommend Masters of the Universe, but I also understand there's other movies you want to see more. I'm not gonna be one to tell you how to spend your money, so if you want to wait to watch them, you can. I may not, because I'm going on a Disney cruise, and Disney cruises usually show new movies. I may not even have to pay to see Toy Story 5. So I may not even have to pay for it if I can watch it for free on the cruise. I did that with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes back in 2024. I went on a cruise ship when that movie came out, and I saw it in the theater that was in. And it's not like the theater was packed or anything. Now, granted, I think Toy Story is going to have a bigger show out than a Planet of the Apes movie, especially because this was a Planet of the Apes movie that was going to have a new cast of characters. Where does the cruise ship go? So the cruise ship goes on like Disney's Castaway Cay. I gotta ask my sister. I gotta look it up actually because my sister plans everything out because it's a family cruise. I'm looking it up right now. Hold on. I know it's gonna be for like a week. I know like Disney's Castaway Cay, which is like Disney has its own like island and beach. I think they stop at like Nassau, but we didn't go Nassau the last time. That was like the day I saw the movie Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I know there's like some islands. No, it doesn't go near Canada. It's gonna go more so like it's leaving from Florida. Yeah, no, CGH. It's not gonna. It's leaving from Florida because before I go on the cruise the day before, I'm going to one of the Disney parks, and the day I fly in because I'm flying in early, I'm going to Disney Springs. But yeah, but yeah, back to regular show. Overall, it's not amazing, but I will say it's definitely a lot better than a lot of these revivals from the late 2010s. I just wonder, like, because this is basically like what's happening in between episodes kind of thing. Like, how far does it go? Will there be like a season where we see maybe adventures that happen after the characters come back from the park? I'm actually more fascinated by the episodes that shows what these like that were basically flashback episodes at, that the characters are sharing, like Benson becoming park manager, Muscleman's volleyball quest. I know Masters of the Universe. I said it earlier in the stream. I don't know if you're watching CGH. I know it from the 2000s cartoon and watching some episodes from the 80s cartoon, but that was like forever ago. I do want to rewatch both series now. I really do. So maybe I'll do that. My hope though is like if this, even though I would like to watch a sequel in the theaters, at the very least, maybe they'll do a sequel. Maybe they'll do a sequel for Amazon Prime. Although I much rather watch a sequel in theaters because my theater was having a good time. They were laughing. They clapped at the end. I can't remember the last time like my theater was clapping at the end of a movie. Which I mean, I kind of make fun of the theater the audience clapping at the end of the movie because like none of the stars or directors or writers and producers are there. Why are you giving it applause? Although to be fair, I'm kind of guilty of this as well because I remember back in high school or in middle school, there were some movies that came out like The Avengers, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, where me and people watching in the theater clapping at the end. I mean, granted, those were fun theater experiences, but still. And nowadays, I'm kind of like, is it really necessary? But I mean, at the same time, there's also a part of me that's like, I enjoy when the theater's so into it. Like when No Way Home came out and Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire finally appeared on the screen and the theater was going crazy cheering and clapping. And it's just like, and you feel that. It's like, wow, we're all excited because the Spider-Man of our childhoods. Well, Tobey was my childhood. Andrew Garfield was my teenage years. They're back on the big screen. And I know the theaters will go crazy when in Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. I know they're going to go crazy. They'll go crazy if there's a scene where X-Men characters interact with MCU characters, or regular MCU characters. They're going to react if, let's say, in any of these movies, Tobey and Hugh Jackman appear and have a scene interacting with one another. I mean, I remember the theater going crazy when Steve Rogers picked up Thor's hammer and Endgame and fought. And look, I'd much rather have like that theater experience where everyone is in sync and everyone's just cheering, having a good time, instead of like annoying, obnoxious talking so loud during the movie, not even caring what's happening in the movie. Because at least when you're cheering and like laughing, you're at least engaged with the movie still. No, because I'll actually talk about this before I get off. Before I saw Obsession, there was like these teenage girls talking behind me, just talking so obnoxiously, and they were still talking when the previews were showing. I was like, good Lord, are they going to do this during the movie? Luckily, they stopped talking right when the movie began, but I was like really worried that these girls that were talking behind me were just going to keep yapping through the movie and ruin my theater experience. Because that's happened before. I remember 10 years ago, I think it was like, I can't remember if it was around Christmas break 10 years ago. I know I was off from college. Me, my mom, my cousin, and my aunt, we saw that Leonardo DiCaprio movie, The Reverend. That was the movie he finally won an Oscar for. And this lady just kept talking behind us, and my cousin was getting annoyed because he was sitting right next to me. He's like, telling me about it, and finally, when she kept talking, he's like, "Do you mind?" And she finally shut up. Oh my goodness! Like she finally shut up after that. But also, I remember 4 years ago, I remember I saw Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. During the first 5 minutes of the movie, someone was pointing a laser pointer at the screen, and people were like getting annoyed and mad, and it's just like, dear Lord, my theater experience is already getting ruined. Luckily, they stopped after that, but that was like one of the few times I saw a movie at the AMC. I think I've only been to that AMC twice, just because there were movies I wanted to see playing in that theater and wasn't playing anywhere else, like Jaws and IMAX on a $3 movie ticket day. I got to watch that. the day the Earth blew up, the Looney Tunes movie from last year, it was playing at the AMC, not at my theater. If Coyote versus Acme, when that comes out, if it's playing at that AMC, I'm gonna have to go to that AMC and watch it. But I think this is a good place to end. I didn't want to go too long with it, but yeah, I know I already covered Obsession and He-Man earlier on video, but if you didn't hear my grades for it, I gave Obsession A. I thought it was a terrific movie. So far, it's my second favorite movie of the year. I think it was a great horror movie. There's a good chance it could land up on my top 10 favorite movies of the year. We still got a lot of movies left this year that are highly anticipated from great directors, but I also said there's a chance those movies may not land. And then, of course, Masters of the Universe, I gave it a B. I had a really fun time with it. It's corny and cheesy in such a good way, though. And it's sad that it's not doing well in the box office. Hopefully, Father's Day weekend, maybe it can pick up some steam. Worse, my scenario hopefully would be if it doesn't do well, maybe it'll find an audience on Prime when it comes out on Prime. And maybe at the very least, they'll make it a Prime franchise, which I hope they don't do, but gotta take the small victories you can get. But yeah, so a reminder, I've already mentioned it twice, but I'll mention it again if you didn't hear it before. Next week will be the last Common Sense and Pop Culture episode for a couple of weeks. As far as reviews go, I do plan on seeing Disclosure Day next weekend, so I'll probably do a review on that. Probably not in the stream format that I did this time. I haven't decided if I'm going to see Scary Movie yet or not as well before I go away. I'll wait and see because I got to get ready for this trip as well. This is my last week of work before summer season begins, and then I'm going to have my summer work season camp to prepare for as well. So don't really have a whole lot of time. Like my vacation is, I don't have like a whole lot of time between my last day of the work school year and then vacation, because also on a couple of days before I go away, I do have some work trainings that I got to take care of. So, and those are important to do, and I get paid for those. So that's easy money to make. And it's that kind of money that I used to go see these movies, to go buy my Funko Pops, to buy my DVDs, and also to go buy food and pay bills and stuff. But anyways, thank you for watching this video. Thank you to CJH, Blinded, Sal, Aaron World Order. Who else was in the chat? Mobanda 85DT. Thank you guys for watching and for participating in the chat. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. If you liked Obsession and Masters of the Universe or know someone that likes these movies, recommend them to this stream. And please leave a like and subscribe if you already haven't. And I'll see you guys real soon. Take care, everyone.